creating content that you could send off to your 3D printer or Shapeways or any other service. But for the bulk of the populations that are not familiar with modeling, there are some hurdles to them getting in. And recognized hurdles being the price, a Maximizer or a Blender. How do you take that first step? So that is why MakeVR was created. It's an immersive modeling system that allows you to work using two hands in a very natural, intuitive fashion. And right now you see that I'm running right here using Sixense's STEM system. And this is one of the first times also that we're really showing this in conjunction with everything else that we're going to show you. Wireless STEM systems, my hands are tracked independently. They're not tethered to each other in any way, shape, or form. And the interface is extremely natural and intuitive that allows anyone just to jump right in and start using it. So the metaphors for navigation are really simple. If I want to navigate my way through the scene, I just reach out, grab a point in space, and physically drag it to a new point in space. Forward, backward, left, right, up, down, any which way I want to go, I just grab it and pull it towards me. I can do that with either hand. Again, they're independent. So I can simulate a walking motion through the environment by alternating hands, pushing, pulling, climbing a rope, etc. Very, very simple, very natural. Now we're getting into the realm of what we refer to as 3D multi-touch. Functions the same as 2D multi-touch on your iPhones, your pads, etc. If I go ahead and grab 2 points in space, I can rotate the environment. And that's around any axis, yaw, pitch, roll, anything in between. Also with those 2 points grabbed, I can scale the environment up and down. And although it may look like I'm just zooming in and out at this point, I'm actually shrinking the environment down. And the reasons for that are kind of simple and unique. So if I want to work at something on a macro level, planting buildings down on the street, I can make my environment small and start working at a very high level. And I can scale myself in to start working on the doorknobs or hinges. And I'll give you a more visual example of what's going on there in just a second. So that's really all it takes to get around the scene. So once you're in, you want to be able to interact with content. So I can just reach out with either hand and grab an object. And I have it in my hand, I have 6 degrees of control over it, translation, rotation. And this is one of the really nice things, because if you're, again, pointing to the audience that we're targeting for this, if you were not a 3D modeler, not experienced with 3D environments, even something as simple as rotating a model on a screen using a 2D interface, and that's what a mouse and a keyboard or tablet is, using a 2D interface to try and control 3D content. How do you move your mouse to rotate it and pitch it, etc.? Not intuitive. Here, if I want to rotate this, I just grab it and I just turn my wrist. Again, either hand, I can grab it. I can pick these up with either hand, etc. Same with the multi-touch. I can grab this with 2 hands and I can scale it up. In fact, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and drop them there. So, to wrap up the nickel tour of MakeVR, I just want to point out that this is built on a solid, professional, industry standard CAD engine. So all your standard CAD functions are in there, your booleans, your slices, your cuts, your joins, your fillets, your clones, etc. That's all built in here. And we may show you some of that later on during the demo session. But now to the point of us being here. For those of you who have seen this before, what you probably haven't seen is MakeVR Collaborative. And what this is this allows up to, we're initially stating 5 users to be in any scene at one time. We're going to have voice over IP communications. We're going to have full 3D spatial audio, so you'll hear who's above you, below you, behind you, etc. So where are those 2 clowns that are in here with me? So Paul, where's Paul? Because I want to use Paul as, okay, here comes Paul. You see now he's scaling, he was hiding. He's shy. That's why we keep him in the ribs, so he doesn't try and make eye contact with anybody. It's better for everyone that way. So there's Paul's avatar, and he is in fact represented by an avatar. So now those simple gestures, motions for navigating through the scene, Paul is going to replicate that to show you. So there he is walking through the environment. Okay, Paul's in the Hydra, he's in the rift, he can't see his fingers. But there he is. So this is Paul Malinick. He's MakeVR, he's the head developer for MakeVR. Over here we have Glenn. He's the director of QA and test at Sixense. So there's Paul. I'll scale back this so you can see Paul. And the 2 cursors you see there, these are my hands. Paul has his hands attached to him, and although there's a slight disconnect between my hands and the screen, basically, when Paul looks at his hands with the Rift on, he's seeing those cursors exactly where his hand is. So Paul, you can just walk around a bit. There he is, just walking his way through. Now when he rotates, he just spins himself around. Now the cool part is he can scale himself up or down, and that same scale. So there you see how huge he can become, you know, to working, you know, at a macro level again, to shrinking himself down and follow him down in here. You know, shrinking himself really tiny. Okay, so Glenn, where's Glenn? Glenn's hiding here also. Glenn's hiding in the Swiss cheese case somewhere. Yeah. Oh, there, okay, wait, let's go find Glenn. Glenn likes to hide. Okay, there's Glenn. Okay, so why don't you wave at everybody, Glenn? Oh, my name is Glenn, I'm really, really small. Okay, so while you guys are enjoying yourself with this, I mean this, I want to point out that this is actually the first professional grade modeling tool that has a collaborative nature to it. There's been a lot of collaborative modeling environments. Minecraft Creative, Second Life had, you know, you could create content in Second Life, work with primitives, build models, etc. But this, again, is built upon an industry standard professional CAD engine. So it allows people to come in and do real work and, you know, to whatever level they want. You can also come in here, where's he hiding behind the turtle? Okay, so why don't you guys, while I keep talking, to show you how the collaboration works, I'm going to task these two floating fellows to start modifying this MechBot. And one of the things with MakeVR, I'm going to pull myself out of the way, with MakeVR is, again, if you're not an experienced modeler, if you're not familiar with 3D environments, coming into a bare environment and just starting to build things, even if you're a creative person, could be a little daunting because you're not familiar with working in 3D on a computer. So what this allows, you know, we're going to have all the standard primitives, you know, that most tools come with, and due to the CAD nature and all the Boolean functions, you can, you know, reshape, resize, cut anything in MakeVR. Everything in MakeVR is an object that can cut anything else. Everything's a tool, everything's an object. So you could bring things in, slice that on the ground plane, use the ground plane to slice other objects. Everything interacts with everything else. And also libraries of templates. So iPhone cases, coffee mugs, things like these MechBots, a variety, all the MechBots you see here, these will be templates in here just for people to come in and start playing. So while they're in here, you know, they're nice. Okay, so you know they can talk back and forth to each other. You know, I have the microphone on, so I'm louder. So you know, you have to shout if you want to hear each other.
Glenn, why don't I stay around his right side and to the left?
Yeah, and I'll just keep moving on. So they can hand things back and forth. So if say you're a designer and you're working on a concept model for your client happened, you know, you're in Los Angeles, your client's in Australia. Standard process is you export your model, you upload it somewhere, your client downloads it, reviews it, gives you feedback or input, and then you start working on the model again. In an environment like this, you could have, you know, you could both be in the same environment. Both be in the same environment, working on the model collaboratively. So you could have you know, people that are more creative in here, working with people that have more of a, you know, engineering or mechanical background. So you can collaborate in real time over private networks, over the internet, you know, however, it kind of looks like a pilgrim hat from here on that turtle, old Quaker turtle. So, it's the same natural intuitive interface. And you know, the other high point that we're showing here that no one else has seen is, you know, again, Paul is running in the Rift. And this is the first time out of the office that we've actually had this running. And, you know, anyone later on, if you want, you can come up and, you know, slap the Rift on and take a look. So, you know, not to take up, you know, too much time, but, you know, in a nutshell, that's really it, you know, and you may be asking yourself, you know, why we're here showing you a modeling tool at a virtuality meetup. And, you know, a couple of points. A, you know, the greedy point is that, you know, we're launching our Kickstarter on Wednesday, and we just want to get the word out. But B is, and the important point is, that MakeVR from day one, from before it even got onto a 2D screen, was conceived to be a virtual reality application. It's been working in head-mounted displays longer than it's been working on a 2D display. And so again, it's just a natural for this, because you're modeling in a fully immersed environment. Your hands are exactly where you expect them to be. And with the collaborative nature of this, having coworkers, even family and friends in there collaborating with you, it sort of changes the whole paradigm of modeling. And again, because this is, even though they're having fun and games in here, I don't know what they're doing. This is a professional standard modeling tool that this is built upon. So any questions at this point? We'll start with this.
What file formats can you import and export?
Okay, good question. When you're in MakeVR, and anyone that has an interest in 3D printing will be pleased to know that when you're in here, we're working with solid models. So these are SAT files. So when you're working with these solid models and you're performing all your Boolean functions, your cuts, your joins, slices, etc., what it's doing, because they're solid models, when they're polygonalized, they are, the term that's used is watertight. So everything is stitched seamlessly. So you don't need to do any post-production. So it's not like you're working with a polygonal modeler and you could wind up with some of the artifacts that you hit there, the cracks, the gaps, the mismatched vertices, T-vertices, flip normals, etc. None of that happens with the solid models.
Steve, try wireframe.
Yeah, okay, so boom. Yeah, so let me do that. Where's the cheese case? That's a good example. So if we look at this cheese case, oh, what'd you do with it? Put that cheese case down. All right, so there's the Swiss cheese case. The the backstory of this Swiss cheese case is that it was modified by our CEO's 9-year-old daughter. She came to the office, started playing with MakeVR. She had a template for an iPhone 4S case, a blank. She took the blank, she grabbed a sphere, and she just started punching holes in it. So, it took her 15 minutes to do it because it was the first time that she was playing, but you can see, how cleanly this is all stitched together. The polygonal modelers in here, will appreciate the clean geometry. And again, this went right to a printer without needing any post-production. And it was really kind of cool because she came in, and kids, 2D multi-touch is an everyday occurrence to kids. So this 3D multi-touch is just the next natural progression. And the younger they are, the faster they pick it up. It's really amazing to see. Old guys like Paul, he can't hear me because he has the rift on. Old guys like Paul, it takes them a while to figure it out. But the really interesting dynamic was that with the whole 3D print industry, she was able to come into the office, make this, and then send it to the printer. And we have 2 little printers in our office. And the next day when she came in, there was her phone case. So it goes from, people just modeling content on their screen and having it go away when they turn off their monitor or shut down the computer, to sending it to a printer, and the 11-year-old walks over and she picks it up and she actually is holding what she created in her hand. So she could take it to school and show her friends. And that's very, very exciting times on the horizon, I think, with that. But so back to your question, we work in solid models, we export to STL, VRML, OBJ, whatever you need to go to. Our main focus right now is exporting STLs for 3D printing, because that's the basic format that 3D printers accept.
And also SAT, which is the CAD format, and OBJ, we'll be doing others as well.
Yes, yeah, they're all slated, because we're, at the highest level here, we're just doing, we're just making 3D models. And they're just file formats. So it's, even though we're targeting our Kickstarter for 3D printing, these models could be used, for, come in here and build game levels, build whatever you want for whatever 3D application that you have in mind. But, we are just, right now targeting 3D printing.
The Sixense, I'm going to go create files on SolidWorks, or whatever. I just wanted to have a distributed design meeting.
Mm-hmm.
What do I have to convert that CATIA or graphics or whatever file to in order to bring it in here?
I just did that today. You export .sat from SolidWorks, and then it imports right.
And SAT file?
SAT.
Are you guys going to do IGES or STEP? Oh, you said STEP, didn't you? Or no?
He converted a step file.
STEP, okay, great.
But
We will be doing that, and our CAD engine has a interop module that can import and export lots of formats. Probably not as the part of the main goal of the Kickstarter, but definitely in the future. It's not a big deal to do so.
Thanks.
I have a couple questions. One is the VoIP spatialized?
it will be, yes.
Okay. And then I'm guessing there's some sort of server. Is it a server thing or is it?
It'll be a client-server application.
And does that come with whenever you?
We're still working out the logistics of how we want that to be structured and how it's going to work. I mean, right now we're just running, on a local network. Just these three machines, 2 laptops, 1 shuttle, just running, on a local network. But how, it's all going to play out when we're developing it. Not being the engineer, I won't like fake an answer to that. But it will be like right now. I mean, machine over here is being used as the server, and these 2 are clients. So it's just going to be your standard client-server application. So no different than a Second Life or a There.com or anything like that.
I guess my question was, does it require like a headless server in a cloud, or can you establish any machine to be a server? And
Yes, you'll be able to set up your own private networks. You'll be able to establish a machine as your server, so you can just invite your friends and family. And at some point there may be cloud-based ones that are more open and social. But the initial target, again, we're not. This, isn't targeted to be a game. It isn't targeted to be, just a social hangout environment. It's a modeling application. So you will have, networks in the office, that you can, have clients link into your servers externally, etc.
What kind of editing does it do? Does it do vertex, face, and edge, or?
It's all solid modeling. Paul, you want to answer that one?
I mean, ultimately it comes down to that, but it's a set of primitives. It is a solid modeler with edge, face, and vertex boundaries within those models. So essentially, as if they were trimmed. You can think of them as trimmed shapes that combine to make up the solids. But it maintains a solid.
Are you planning on supporting sort of texture-based editing?
We support texture application now. The thing is, when we export to STL for the printers, all color and texture information is lost. But we also export to VRML in preparation for the printers being able to take that color information. But yes, I mean you can apply full colors and textures in this environment. You see, this cube is textured. Most things in here are just kind of colored at this point, but texture is not an issue.
As Steve said, we're kind of working out what's a stretch goal and what's part of the main goal. Definitely in the main goal is to get the textures exactly right, kind of spatially scaled for you, so that you'll see that in some cases our textures are scaled to a face rather than to the world. So we'll be fixing that. And then we're going to give you, maybe as part of the main goal, maybe as part of the stretch goal, more advanced texture application tools for applying textures exactly the way you want them, and even painting into textures. The ultimate goal is kind of a deep paint capability with the two-handed interface, as well as a kind of a mudbox ZBrush capability.
Me again?
Sure.
Great. A few years ago, there was an API called Verse that was basically this open thing that anybody could apply. It's like an SDK. So that Blender could talk to Max, could talk to Photoshop, could talk to GIMP. All these things could be like, collaborating in real time. I was wondering if you plan on supporting any kind of open API such that if I wanted to mimic this in Blender and talk to one of your clients, I could do so.
Can you answer that one, Paul?
It's not on the immediate horizon. We definitely consider it, but it's not something we're contemplating.
Any more questions? Yes.
Is there any other part of the UI, for example, some of the building operations, kind of do things like that are correct.
There is a palette that you toggle off attached to your left hand. And here's where you can load in your primitives. I can go to my tools menu and access other functions here, but your main tools are operated from the controllers. They have button shortcuts, for the things you use most often, your slices, your cuts, your joins, your select color, add color, clone, delete, all those, all the more commonly used tools are there, but the rest of them, they just reside in here. And this is, this is alpha version software that we're showing you right now. We're planning on having it released by Q4, by the end of the year. But a lot of these elements are going to change. Some of it's kind of cool. I'll show you we have a 3D color chooser, so it's actually a 3D cube you use to select your color. Pull in and out to adjust saturation and swing around to select your hue, and you see your color swatch there. And we want to add a lot more interactive elements of this nature to the palette.
So Steve, actually, like you said, I can't hear very well.
What?
I missed the question exactly. Was it that we
Access?
do we support?
No, how do we access other tools and things like that? Was that the question? I mean,
Yeah, it's interesting to say broader UI.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then just the second question. Some of the jittering that's going on with the hand motions, is that...
That's just me. I'm getting a little bit far away from my base unit, I think, is all the issue is. I'm trying to get too close, or I'm not getting off the table. But when I move in closer, it gets a lot, it gets pretty rock solid. And on this palette, for instance, for those that are familiar with 3D printing and shapeways, etc., NetFab, we have a 3D print panel where we can save the files out as an STL and then send it directly to shapeways. When I click on this button, we're not connected to the internet here. If I click on this button, it loads up the shapeways page and it brings up my model, loads it onto the page, and then has all the associated materials and pricing options that I can have it printed in. Yes?
Did you bring in a SketchUp import?
Not right now.
Not natively.
Not natively. It would have to be converted to the SAT format that we import, but as stretch goals and down the line, 3D content typically can be exported, imported, in a number of ways. So the answer today is no, but down the line certainly.
And I guess the answer also is we can bring in lots of other mesh formats that we can't model with them. They're the so-called dumb formats to us. So if we bring in an OBJ or an STL or one of the other OpenFlight or some other format, 3DS, we can use it as a prop in the environment, and that's what we usually refer to it as. And those things can be placed in the environment, but we can't cut with them, and they can't be cut.
Any more questions? All right. Well, thank you for your. Oh, yes.
How much?
Okay. Good question. Following our successful STEM Kickstarter, and sort of gave us the idea to come out with MakeVR as a product because of the stems that were sold and the hybrids that were already out there. Because as you can tell, you need a two-handed control interface to operate in this environment. So I'll get to your question. So eventually, the Intel perceptual computing, leap motion, camera-based controls, when they get to enough resolution that you can do that, this will support that. But so there are two levels that we're talking about. If you already own a Hydra, if you've supported the STEM Kickstarter, and if you did, thank you, then we will be selling the software alone under $200 is what we're targeting. I don't have the exact number right now, that's still being worked out. And we're also bundling it with a 2-controller STEM system for under $500. And again, stems are all wireless. Even, we like to show this, even the base is wireless. This is just plugged in for power right now, but wireless base, and you see it's still functioning as expected. So that'll run for a while before I need to plug it back in. So under 200 for the software, under 500 for the bundle, which is software and 2 STEM system. Any more questions? One more. Yeah.
So the Kickstarter is soon, but when is the estimated delivery date?
Okay, the Kickstarter commences on Wednesday. Estimated delivery date is Q4 of this year. We're targeting November, but as things go, it may be a little later, but we're targeting end of this year for the delivery of the software.
What did you say the max goal?
Pardon me?
What did you say is the goal you have to attain?
For the Kickstarter? I don't. Paul, do you know what?
Sounds like you're leaning my way. I
No,
couldn't hear that.
the Kickstarter goal, it was 250?
Last I heard it was 250.
Yeah.
But that's subject to change. I
Yeah.
don't know what will come out with. It's not really my decision.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Bruce, you're looking like you're ready to run up here. Go, Bruce, go.
Oh, Brian,
All right, well, thank you very much for your time.
Gaming experience. It's about where your mind and body meet gameplay. It's about taking all the new input technologies, the gesture control, the motion control, the neurosensing, and integrating the Sixense and taking that technology and leveraging all the new output technologies like AR and VR and haptics and really creating truly immersive experiences. And so that's what we're trying to capture at the conference. I did the first one last year, about 300 people showed up. We're taking over the Metreon for 2 days. We're expecting to double the crowd. We're gonna have about 30 or 40 different vendors. I'm bringing in all the EEG vendors from around the world. We're gonna have some VR groups there in technologies, AR, haptics, and I've got a great deal for you guys. So the going ticket, finally priced out is about $1,200 to get in, but I want to make sure this group really gets in, under the wire. And if you guys sign up with SVVR in the next week, you're going to get in for $200. I really want you guys there. I think you can make a difference. I think you guys will have a blast. So just go to the site, neurogamingconf.com, or just type in NeuroGaming 2014. On your seats, I gave you these. It's $100 off. With the special code FUTURE or SVVR. So I hope to see you there on May 3rd and 4th. We haven't announced it yet, but you guys should also know we're going to be hosting a NeuroGaming hackathon. I'm working with 5 of the different vendors, EEG vendors and some of the haptics companies, as well as some of the VR groups, to actually bring enough technology there to actually make a difference. So yeah, I hope to see you there May 7th and 8th at the Metreon in San Francisco. If you've got any questions about it, feel free to talk to me about it. Thanks.
Right, awesome. That's going to be a very cool connection, VR and 3D interfaces. And NeuroGaming is kind of the next step. I want my consciousness downloaded and to be a program. So,
I'm Karl, I'm the organizer of this event, and thank you all for coming. There's something about VR that really ignites passion in people. It's not like other technologies and interesting things like phones and whatever. There's something about it that really speaks to this childlike sense of wonder and this idea that anything is possible. And people are really passionate about VR. I think a lot of us in this room know that. And it's not just a cool technology. It's like the ultimate technology. It's magic. It's like the closest we can get to the unknown of space or the Wild West or this kind of unknown frontiers. Like this is the closest we can get without drugs, basically. And we don't know the side effects yet, so this may be worse than drugs. So we'll speak to us in 20 years, and this may be our version of the 60s. We don't know what we're doing to our brains, but but that's it. There are many of us who've been working on this for decades. There are some people in this room who've been working on VR and devoting their careers to VR for decades. And this year is, I think even the people who have been working on this for decades, people will agree that this year is the closest we've come to the reality of virtual reality. I mean, 2014, this is our year. I mean, it's finally attainable and within reach. So I just wanted to let you guys know that SVVR is, we're going to be stepping up. We have a lot of really exciting ideas, a lot of things planned beyond just monthly meetups. And we're going to be stepping up to try to, meet the demand that people have as this becomes a full-fledged industry. And one of the things that people have been asking me here is where, people are starting companies. People are getting together and, starting startups around this space. Can I ask how many people in this room are actually working in VR right now? Oh, that's pretty good. That's more than I thought. How many would like to be working in VR but are not yet? Okay, that's good. That's like about half and half. So a bunch of people have asked me, I'm hiring, I'm looking for developers for VR. Where do I do, is there a place, can I talk to your group? So, we've had, I think at some meetups, people have made announcements, they're hiring or whatever. But, so we decided to start a job board for people that want to work in the VR space. Professional VR or consumer VR, but we're definitely focused on VR that we can actually afford and have and play with ourselves and get our hands on. So we've started a job board. It's pretty basic right now. I can't bring it up because I don't know my password. But it's vrjobs.svvr.com. You can go there now. We're going to be charging a $30 for 30 days to list a job eventually, but for the first few months we're going to open it up for free. So check it out, go on there. If you're hiring, if you're looking for a job, we're going to be promoting the URL pretty heavily going forward, but this is the first time we're announcing it publicly, so if you want to be the first person to get your job listing on there, here's your chance. And we have a lot more things planned like that, but that's just a little taste of what's coming, so I guess that's it. Cool. So, Bruce.
All right. That's a very exciting development. Just like Karl, I've been asked several times, I have like a mailing list that goes out that I ask people, hey, there's an opportunity. People are definitely looking to get into the space to have things ready by the end of 2014 and 2015. So the time is now.
Right. And all the money will be going to buy more pizza, so it's not, you're not buying Bruce and I boats or anything.
No, we're all, the pizza, it's costless, man. It's for now. Very good. Next up, we were going to have a question from Matt.
I have a question. So this is Silicon Valley only, or can we do the whole Bay Area with this thing?
So I hope that it can become worldwide. So it is, it's based on the SVVR domain name, but I would like this to become the place. And I think that a lot of people are passionate enough about VR that if an interesting opportunity comes, they're going to make it happen no matter where they are. They're going to work remotely, they're going to move, whatever. So I'm hoping that this becomes worldwide. So that's the way I'm promoting it. Good question.
Sweet. Excellent. Well, our last talky thing of the day is going to be a Q&A panel from CES. So it's going to be myself and Karl and Matt Sonic. We were all at CES. Karl and I got to try the Crystal Cove, the latest Oculus prototype, Avogant Glyph, Cast AR, I don't know what there was, many other things. There was some pretty cool things, Soft Kinetic, using the creative 3D camera on top of the RIP, which was pretty interesting. Geez, there was so many things. Prio VR, also went to their booth and tried it out. So if you have questions about any of those things, we are here to answer them. So we're going to set up the chairs right here, and so we can look at least semi-professional, and we're going to take questions. All right, very good. Ready? So CES was nuts. It was surprising the amount of VR things that were there and the VR people that were there, and also surprising the amount of companies that only sell cell phone cases. I was not expecting that at all. It was very strange, but yeah, it was very neat. Got to talk to a lot of people, and there was a very good feeling of excitement and something new as far as all of the folks that had their hands in VR there, which was pretty neat. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll add to that. The thing that really struck me, I think this was my 7th or 8th CES in a row. So this was the first time that I really saw VR at CES, and it was really seeping in through the cracks. And one of the interesting things was the booths that were showing VR and had products around VR were the ones with the crowds. I mean, that's where people were interested in that, and it was really, it's really just kind of seeping through the cracks, and you can just get a sense that it's, it's coming, and it's bubbling under the surface. And yeah, just other impressions that I'll give on that. I got to try my favorite VR experience, or one of my top 2 VR experiences. I did try the Crystal Cove, and that was awesome, but as far as content goes, which was Valkyrie. If anyone hasn't tried that, it is so much fun. My 2 favorite VR experiences were Zombies on the Holodeck, which we had here, and Valkyrie, and it's just amazing experience. So really looking forward to that. Anyone who's not sure if they're excited about that, get excited about it. It's really awesome.
Yes.
All right, Matt.
Yeah. So, I was the newbie, so I came to CES for the first time. I had never been before. And I will say that my broad experience in one word is that CES is, no, 2 words. It's fucking vast. It's so big. You will never see it all. So I went and I was like, dude, I'll totally check this. I've been to major music festivals. I will hit this thing like a pro. I got to see about 10% of what I really wanted to see because I just couldn't find anything. It's like, it's so hard to find the stuff because there's so many personal robots that you can like have to step over. You're like, no, I'm not interested. I don't need a personal robot. But yeah, so the cool VR stuff. Should I talk about that, or are we just talking about it? Right. Okay, so the stuff that like totally blew my mind, that I was like, this is where it's at. Number 1, the best. I'll start with the best, because why not? Was PreoVR. I thought PreoVR did amazingly cool stuff. Their suit, who knows what it is? Hands? Oh, I need to explain what it is. Okay, so it is this set of sensors from a super cool company in, I believe, Ohio, that it will strap onto your body. So you put like a sensor here, here, and you suit up, and then instead of using optical tracking, like something like the Kinect or whatever, it merges all that data into a skeleton, which you can then use for your VR. So they had complete upper torso tracking, and it was great. It's really solid. They're gonna do a Kickstarter. Check it out. Really good. The only downside to it is that the setup time is a bit too much, in my opinion. So yeah, so I really dug what they were doing. The let's see, VR-wise, the other cool VR thing. Actually, no, I gotta tell you the coolest thing that's not VR that I saw at CES, and then I'll give it back because I know I'm just rambling, is they have a Roomba for your grill. How cool is that? You put it on your grill, and it can be hot. It can be right after you cook, and then it'll just go around and like drive around your grill and clean it. All right, I'll tell you other stuff when I come back.
I'll just use this one, I guess. Is this?
All right, so the good news about, we're not just bragging about what we saw. We went there specifically to get these companies here, and pretty much every cool thing that we saw at CES is now lined up to come here in the next few months, or the next 3 or 4 months. Including the PreoVR. We're working with them to try to synchronize that. They are in Ohio, so that's a little far away. I'm going to add something on the PreoVR, is that I thought initially that it was a STEM competitor, but after seeing it, I think it's something different, and I think it actually will work with the STEM. And I think that this is not like a Sixense versus PreoVR. I think they're kind of attacking this from a different angle, and that they'll work together very well.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was my vision too. Absolutely. Like, the thing about PrioVR was that, I only had the upper body one, the vest. But I did a few specific things to try to break it, and I wasn't able to. Like chicken dance and put my arms like this, and it caught all of that arm motion. So imagine going in VR and getting behind someone to your multiplayer guy and going like this. Like, think about the non-verbal communication you can do when every joint is captured perfectly. And that was pretty exciting. So I'm thinking of like, I want PrioVR to capture my joints, and I want 2 stem controllers in holsters that represent guns.
Yeah.
And that's like, that would be like an amazing experience. So yeah, I don't think it's an either or situation at all. I think those things could work together and be pretty legendary.
Yeah, to add to that, they're using the Sixense stuff, at least the demo I did. So it's like, yeah, it's not, you're gonna have to buy both. Sorry guys, this is gonna drain your wallet. You guys are gonna have no money in 2014. But yeah, also getting to see all of the, sorry, I know we're trading back, but getting to see everybody in the VR community makes you realize that this is such a great space to be in. I feel like it needs to be said that like it's so open. Everybody here is so cool. Everybody's trying to work together, and yeah, it was really rewarding to not have any dicks. Everybody's so nice.
Yeah. I'll second that. There was an evening where all the VR people got together, and it was just a ton of fun. You break it, you bought it.
Oh my god.
We're raising the price on the job board now.
My bad.
So yeah, I'm just going to also just mention the Crystal Cove. The most amazing thing about the Crystal Cove, and I'm sure there's questions about it, but was just the fact that the motion blur is just solved. Like that problem I thought would linger for years, and it's just solved. It's amazing. So what that's actually going to look like, whether regarding specs on PCs and stuff, we have to wait and see. But and we are also working to get the Crystal Cove here. We will get it here. If it kills me, working very hard to get it here. So that's going to happen.
Cool. So let's open it up to some questions. Jacob, what's up?
Did you see any like promising like interactive gloves that could be used with VR? Any prototypes?
PrioVR. I talked to Paul Yost, who's R&D at YEI, who's the PrioVR guy, and that's their next step. So they just need to get their technology small enough for fingertips, and I think that's what they're looking at very, very seriously.
Nice.
So that was the most concrete, promising thing that I heard or saw at CES as far as glove interface.
The perceptual computing camera.
Yep.
The camera. It was so good.
What? Oh,
you did it. I saw you do it. I was there.
All right, so that was really cool.
Kinetic was also
Yeah, the soft kinetic. So they have, you can download it. They have a mount that you can 3D print and attach to your Rifts. And if you guys have the perceptual computing camera from Creative, what is it, like $200 or something? You can put it on your Rift, and they have an alternative SDK. So Soft Kinetic is the name of the company. Go there, find their SDK, and they have a demo where you can do block building, and this is the reason why I bring it up, is you were talking about using your hands, and it uses the gesture recognition from their SDK, which is really good, and they have a demo where you can do block building in VR using the camera mounted on your head, and it's really cool. And I was really good at it. Like I thought I was pretty good. And the reason is it's got really good snapping. It's a nice demo. It's worth trying out. It's one of those things like, when are we going to be able to put a camera on the Rift and start doing stuff with that? And now is the time to go and start playing with it because they have a demo that's pretty good.
It was interesting to see how the view followed your head, so you could actually move where you need to be, and your hands were still there. That's the first time I've seen that dynamic.
Yeah, it did feel rather strange because I found myself, because you have to actually look at your hands to have them in the virtual space with you. So they had this simulation basically where they had a cube in space. You put your hand in the cube and close your hand, and then a copy of the cube is attached to your hand, and you can move it and drop it and then build something cube by cube, right? So it was a pretty interesting interface. But what I kept wanting to do is like, but you can't do that because you have to look at your hand the whole time. So that was something I didn't really expect from the experience. I mean, of course that makes logical sense, but actually translating that to your muscle memory was a little bit of an adjustment, but yes, it was very promising for sure, because you're seeing like basically a blue version of your own hands with just a bit of lag, which was it was pretty cool.
Was Meta there? Space goggles.
I didn't see him.
No, I did not see Meta.
I didn't see Meta either.
We are trying to get them here too, so we'll get them here eventually. They're on the edge of VR, AR, so we're trying to be more specific VR, but I think that's cool enough that we can get them. We'll let them in.
AR, but you're cool enough, you're in. Right over here, Keith.
All right, so when Oculus was demoing the Crystal Cove, what were they demoing to show off the improved persistence and the positional tracking? And Bruce, did you try to break it?
Yes, of course, that's what I do best. So what they showed was 2 demos. The first demo was Eve Valkyrie. I don't know, I think it was a more recent build than the one Intel had. But basically, that was mainly to show off the persistence of vision tech, the LPOV, low persistence of vision tech. Has everyone read about or heard about this, or kind of, yes, some? Okay, so persistence of vision is pretty easy to explain. It's something about the physics of the eye, where your eye retains an image for about 1/24th of a second. So say if I take, say, 2 pieces of paper, and I look through a slit that I'm making in this paper, I'm only seeing a slit of the room, right? But if I move this rapidly back and forth, I keep the slit together and move it back and forth, I can see the whole room. And that's how animation works, that's how movies work. It's that same principle, that your eye, your brain is keeping the image for a little bit while. So how that is translated in the Crystal Cove is that they're blinking the screen at a very rapid rate, but they're only blinking the screen when the scene is first rendered. So you're only getting a picture that's clear and correct. You're not getting the pixels to stay on and smear while you move, and then, okay, it's correct again, oh, now it's smearing, okay, it's correct again. It's just blinking with correct pixels. So what happens is that the screen does get a little bit darker, brightness is affected, but it pretty much eliminates motion blur. What was really cool about the Eve demo is that they had neon text. They start you in the cockpit and they have all of this neon consoles and neon text, the positional tracking. You can lean down into them and check them out. And he turns the low persistence on and off, and he makes, has you shake your head. And the neon text does not smear, which for those of you that are familiar with DK1, that's like, what? But for neon text to not smear is pretty remarkable. The other demo was to show off the positional tracking. That was an Unreal 4 demo with kind of, you're looking at the Fire Lord in the seat, you're in the seat, and you have kind of a board game in front of you, while there's the little dudes walking around. You can press buttons to kind of activate little traps to kill the dudes. But you can lean in on the board as far, like it was, the ratio of like positioning was probably like, it wasn't 1-to-1, it was like maybe 1.5 or something like that. So you lean like this, but your body is actually going way in. And you're able to see like right up into these little guys. You can see like all up in their armpits. It was crazy. And then you can actually, the Fire Lord is like an NPC, but he was bringing up the point, like if that's another person, you can see what they're looking at and how they're leaning, and then maybe change your strategy based on how they're doing too. Yeah, so those are the demos that they showed specifically to show off their, the 2 biggest features of the Crystal Cove. And they were both very, very impressive and a lot of fun too. So, yeah, anything to add to that, or good? Cool.
Yeah. So compared to the dev kit on the Oculus Rift, what are your thoughts on the resolution and like the screen door effect? Are you happy with them? Do they need to still be improved?
Me personally, it didn't come into play, the screen door effect. If they released that as a consumer product, I would not be disappointed. I think a lot of people, like the press, as far as like Wired, Verge and stuff, they went in there looking for the screen door effect and were able to find it. Yeah, I mean, in bright spots, there was perhaps a fine mesh there, but it was extremely easy to ignore. It wasn't like anything in DK1 where I have experiences where, man, I wish I didn't have this grid in front of me. Nothing like that happened. What would you say?
Yeah, I didn't notice or think about the screen door effect at all, so it wasn't, an issue. The resolution was good. They didn't tell us what it was.
Yeah, it was 1080p OLED.
It was 1080p-ish. But it was good. But there was definitely a different image quality from the OLED screen, and it was a good thing. It was, you know, really kind of popped, and I think that helps with the, you know, reduction in brightness that you get from the persistence of vision. I also think that's only possible with an OLED screen. So, but it works. I mean, yeah, as far as resolution, screen door, it was good. It wasn't a problem.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That position tracking, is that 360? Were you able to stand all the way around and track?
No, it was not. And I tried to break that as well. And so, you know, at some point, I turned all the way around in my seat, and what happens is that the camera loses you, and then it switches back to a neck model, and then you come back and it picks you up again. The point between it dropping me and picking me back up was pretty seamless. That was probably the part I was most impressed with, where it was just like phew phew, and it wasn't like a big jump in the, you know, in the world, which was good. But it did feel funny though, for sure. When, you know, it just felt totally different because there's all these micro motions that you don't even notice when it's. I mean, it was really good positional tracking. So it's like, you know, any little shift or any motion of your head, it's totally picking up perfectly. So going back to the neck model, it felt weird. But yeah, and I guess Oculus has already stated that they're focused on the sit-down experience. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of brought that up, and they were like, you know, I think that's what they're going to be focused on. And so people with the Omni or with the spinny chairs might have to find a different solution. So.
Yeah, I'll just add that I think you had to go pretty far to actually get back to the neck model. So I just don't see it coming up unless you're really doing a lot of, you know, backwards VR.
I was facing, if this is straight, yeah, it was I think it was farther than 90. It was probably maybe 100, 115 degrees before I lost it. It was pretty significant. Yeah, before it lost me totally. Yeah.
Is it just an issue of them not putting LEDs on the back of the straps or something like that?
Well, I think part of it, I mean, they have the LEDs all over the front of that unit. I guess it was like a plate they put on there with the LEDs. I didn't notice any on the back. And I think it's a technical problem that comes in because you can't really put them in the strap because the strap is elastic. So
EL wire maybe.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I don't know. From what I've read and heard, it seems to be a more complex technical problem than they're willing to tackle at this point, either because of expense or because of complication, because everyone has a different size head, or I don't know what kind of solution they'd have to come up with to get all of that tracked.
Can I add some to positional tracking?
Yeah.
I got to send some love out to Sixense. I did get to do the STEM system with the positional tracking. Yes. And I don't know if they'll hear what I'm saying. You might send it out to them or something, but it's really quite good. And that would solve the issue that we're talking about where you turn around because their system works anywhere. And it's really good.
Yeah.
Great point.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay, this one is more for Matt, because Matt, you played with the 3VR system.
Yeah.
Did you guys see Virtuix have a presence at CES?
They did have a presence. I couldn't find them.
Okay. You guys are aware of the Omni.
Yeah, we found them.
If you guys with the 3VR, do you think that it would work well with the Omni at the same time?
So yes, and well, yeah, very much so. But the experience that I had was not the full suit. So you've seen the VRLaunchpad suit.
I'm back at Kickstarter, so.
Yeah. And so they have the whole thing, the whole getup. The experience I had was torso up. So I don't really know what that would be walking around with the suit. And if you have the Omni, you're going to be walking because it's a treadmill. So yeah, but I would assume it's great.
Yeah, to comment on that, we were with at the Virtuix booth, and we hung out with them, checked them out for a second, talked to Jan and those guys, and yeah, I would concur. I think it would work. They had ProVR actually had one person that was demoing with the full bodysuit, and he could go to a point like it was everything. He had head, upper body, torso, and then legs. Like he was able to actually lay on the ground. And his character did the same thing.
So it's not like a base station that you'd have to worry about with the Omni, or like with the Crystal Code, you have to be facing the base station for it to track you.
Yeah, I don't know how they had it set up, but it was good. It was like the vest was not attached to the computer anyway. Like it was just, like they had a chest module, and that's where all the sensors were coming out of, but that chest module was wirelessly communicating with the laptop they had. So I could have walked around and got up and did all kind of stuff. I mean, I sat in a chair, but I was facing a direction. The computer was somewhere over here. I don't know where the base station was, but I would assume that.
Did they have a sensor for your head? So would that kind of work around the fact that you can't? Okay.
No,
Yeah.
but can I talk about the demo?
Yeah.
They don't have it, but I got to talk about how. All right, so honestly, software sells. Software makes it sexy. And what the demo was, you're in a room and there's some zombies coming at you. It's like, okay, that's original, but they're coming at you, and the really killer thing is this. I don't know why this is so great to be able to do this, but the moment that you get your shoulder in, you're asking about the head, and no, to my knowledge, there wasn't head. Honestly, I don't remember doing a lot of that. But this sort of motion is so convincing. To be able to look down, it totally goes from, oh, there's an arm in space to that is my arm. And it's really just being able to have that little bit of motion in your shoulders goes so far. So they gave me, to finish the demo, they gave me a gun, and I was like, oh cool, I'm capping zombies, this is whatever. And then they give you a rocket launcher, and to be able to go, pow, and do like the whole thing, it's so satisfying. I cannot wait for you guys to try it.
Seeing your shoulder rotate in its socket in VR is something to behold. Maybe a couple more questions before demo time. Don't too much time here. Did well, yeah.
So how epic was the Sony VR swag?
Oh god.
The Sony was sad. That's all. It was just sad. It was depressing and sad.
So sad.
But it's, a lot of people, I think, would agree that that's not what Sony's working on for VR. They have something else in the PlayStation group they have to be smarter than that, because it was so bad. It was the lag. I swear to God, I've gotten pretty good because I worked in telepresence for over a decade. I've gotten pretty good at judging latency just by looking at something, and I swear to God that was 200 milliseconds latency. Like, it really was bad.
Yeah.
It was definitely more than 150.
Yeah.
I mean, it was terrible.
It was pretty horrible. They gave the way they explained it was not an FOV. They're like, it's a 750-inch screen at what is it, 80 feet away or something ridiculous. What it was is a 45 FOV window like this, and that window moves with your head to look at a 750-inch screen that's warped like it's on the inside of a donut. So it's so weird because you see, okay, I can see a square and there's block around that, and I could look and I can see a block around that, it was weird, and it was laggy, and they had like this video coming from an Xperia phone of like a camera attached to a motorcycle thing.
Yeah, it was running on a phone, so I mean, right there, that could have been all the latency, and they just ran it off of something stronger than a phone.
Yeah.
It might be good, I don't know, but it was. They did not put a lot of thought into that demo.
No.
It was like thrown together at the last minute.
We couldn't even tell which one was the head tracking unit, because it was like, we're like, okay, that's the HMZ T3s. Where's the head tracking thing that we heard so much about? And it was like, oh, that's that line. And there's literally like this 1.5-inch square little thing that clips on the back and with 2 cords coming out. That was the head tracking. So it was a media viewer with head tracking tacked on. So I really do hope Sony has.
Yeah, they must have something better.
They gotta be working on
the PlayStation group. It's probably just. I mean, this is typical. I think the complaint about Sony is that their different divisions don't communicate, and it just kind of speaks to that. I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have something better somewhere else in a different group.
Yeah, someone's working on something. You, sir.
Yeah. Another private VR question. So how was the latency on that? And I guess another one, did you notice any drift, since it doesn't have like any kind of optical position tracking?
Yeah, latency was not detectable. It was like
Really
non-existent,
minimal.
minimal. And no drift.
Maybe.
I experienced no drift at all. Like, I was in the demo quite a bit because it crashed and it restarted for me. So I had a longer demo than most. Yeah, it didn't like, at no point did I feel like those arms in the game were not my arms.
Yeah, I have to second that. I had heard before that there were drift issues, right? Because they're sensors, and people had said, well, there's probably going to be drift. So I made sure to test many times during the play to go true forwards, go move around as much as I can, make the orientations change as much as I can, and then realign, and every time it was true. So for the duration of my demo, which I think was 4 minutes, there was no drift, and the latency is just completely not detectable to me. And I do a lot of, I don't have the history, but I do a lot of coding, and I can detect a decent amount of latency, and it's below my threshold, whatever that is.
Yeah, it felt similar to the stem, I guess, which is, what are they, 6 milliseconds or something?
They're already
It's very
impressive.
low.
Very impressive. Cool. Well, I'll take one more. User.
Yes. I'll use my time for 2 questions.
All right.
One is, did you see Cast AR and thoughts on that? And number 2, what was the respectability of VR? What was the perception of VR from the non-VR community there? Was that like, where did this stuff come from? Was it this still kind of a joke going back to the old times, or was there kind of a feeling that, this is something that's real?
I'll tackle the second question first. I got the impression that people are not as skeptical about VR as I thought they would be, because a lot of people got burned on VR, and a lot of people are skeptical about it. Oh, it didn't work once, so why would it work now? But the impression I got from people is that this is something genuinely exciting, and they want to see where it goes. Just outside of the VR community, talking to people.
Karl, I think like an example of that is like Intel had Pockets as like the main thing.
Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah, they had the Eve Valkyrie was right in front.
Right.
And Cast AR, yes, we saw Cast AR. Bruce and I did. I don't know if you saw that as well. Yep, and they are going to be coming here in the next few months as well. We did not see the mirror, so we got to see the AR side, not the VR mirror add-on.
Yeah.
So, but we did see the HD unit. I guess it was the first time they were showing the HD unit, and it was, it was not VR, it was AR, but it was very cool. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's very neat. I was worried about the brightness, and that was not really an issue. It was really good. They had 720p per eye, like for 720p each projector, which was cool. Yeah, I was really surprised by how well it worked. Like they had the material kind of in a L shape, so it was propped up, and then I had a flat version, but there was like folds on the table, there was stuff under it, and you didn't really notice that when you're looking at the fold, which was, I thought that was really cool. Rick, who's one of the co-founders of Technical Illusions, he just got a scraggly piece of the reflective material and held it across the room, held it on his belly, and I looked at his belly and I was looking at a world and it's like a portal through his stomach, which is crazy. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, that was pretty neat. I guess the thing that I didn't expect, it was just kind of, you're seeing a huge rectangle that's being projected with your head, but that rectangle is like a viewport into the world. So if you're looking here and you're like looking out on, say, Unity bots or whatever it is, and you look down and you see a different part of the environment down here. Yeah, one of the really exciting things, I think is probably going to be $1 billion idea, is like the desktop application that Rick was working on. It just had like a bunch of windows that were cycling, and then you can have like them floating up here, and the one you're working on is like on your desk. Like you can move it around. So I was thinking like if you just, instead of a tablet, you just had a piece of this material like about this big, and every time you look at it, you see your stuff, and that would be pretty sick. But yeah, I think that was. I think the thing with Cast AR, it's such a cool tech. I think the issue is what's going to be the killer app. What's it going to be used for most? I already know that D&D Warhammer guys are going to go gaga over it. You're going to love it because it's like we saw a dungeon, like it looked like it sunk into the table, and you can see your characters. You can lean in on them and stuff. Positional tracking, all that. So that was really exciting. I know that'll be a great app, but I don't know if that's going to be sustainable for them or if there's going to be something else. Cool tech. Not sure what it's going to be used for yet, I think, for me.
What about
the glyph. Avogant glyph was excited me more than I expected it to. One, because of the picture quality was so freaking ridiculously good. It's a DLP projection directly into your eye, so you don't sense any screen door. They said it was 720p, but if you would have asked me beforehand, I would have told you I thought it was 1080. Just the quality of the picture. it's a 45 FOV thing, so it's like the HMZ, like looking at an 80-inch TV from however many feet away. But it was pretty amazing. The picture quality was amazing, and then also the ability to do other things. So you have the glyph here, but the way it's positioned that you can totally see everything below. Like I was able to work a laptop while having the glyph on, which was
You
pretty
could check
neat.
your cell phone, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I could like hold the cell phone, connect it to the glyph, and be like, oh, cell phone, the movie's playing, good. I want to go to something else. So that was cool. I could tell people like sneaking up on me. Karl was like, you're taking pictures over there, Karl. Which was pretty neat. The other thing that excited me was the people that are working on it. They are talking the right talk as far as when we came in. We talked to these guys for about 2 hours, and they were like, we're not trying to be an Oculus Rift competitor. That's not what we're doing. We're trying to be the VR gateway. We're having something that's going to be super sexy and super easy to use. It's going to be on the shelf in Best Buy. Someone pick up, what's this? It's earphones. And they have something that they can base it on already. And they're like, oh my God, mind blown. And then they, and then that's kind of getting people used to wearing something that bridge between a full-fledged HMD wearer and the person that's used to, doing just regular TV, smartphone stuff. And that's the market they're targeting. They want to go after that. And their VR features that they have are kind of add-ons, like head tracking and stuff, are kind of borrowed, but they realize that they're not supplying an immersive VR experience. What's that? Perhaps, yeah. That's maybe they're saying maybe down the line they go after that, but for right now they are firmly in the really kick-ass, sexily designed media viewer.
Yep. I'll just add, there was one strange thing about that was that the screen, because the top of your vision and the bottom are not obscured, the screen did feel a little smaller than the size that it actually was. There's a weird, visual trick that happens there. Mm-hmm. So it didn't feel as big as it would have if it was, inside a Rift or something like that, inside a head-mounted display that obscured your vision. But yeah, very cool. Also, they are coming in the next few months as well.
Yeah, and I just want to mention they're having a happy hour on Wednesday downtown San Francisco.
Oh, excellent.
So, free beer.
Excellent. Cool. So we'll try to find info and post that somewhere on the Meetup site.
Definitely.
Oh, also, I'll use this as an opportunity. I haven't sent out a message about this, but we created a LinkedIn group for SVVR, which is for just all VR-related stuff. So a few of you have found it and started having conversations on there, and an email will go out about that eventually. But yeah, look for it if you want to get in early.
All right, I think that'll do it. We're going to break into our demo period. So thank you, Karl. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. Does anyone else have any announcements or anything they'd like to make before we break down the audio to make room to get up here to see the MakeVR demos? Any other announcements? All right. Awesome. All right, let's transform the room.
I can see myself doing Diablo first, because I'm not really sure the use case of the VRLaunchpad. It's cool, but I don't know what I would. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know when I would do tabletop gaming. Yeah, but
This has, actually going to make yourself larger.
Right, that's a good move. And when you get in there, it'll just get very, very zoomy. Very good. Now, can I pick it up with two? And you can sort of stretch it. Yeah, you can stretch it and rotate it if you grab it with both. It's both bumpers. Ah, that's it. There you go. So the big I can see where collaboration is going to make you want to smack somebody pretty quickly. At times, we've actually experimented with that, making a super large avatar become more transparent, right, and become just their skeleton. And that's been the most effective thing we've tried so far. Yeah, the clipping gets a little bit confusing, I think, at times. Because you can't tell exactly what you're seeing there. So now if I wanted to bring up the menu, that's the left hand, right? Inside, bottom button, or top button, I'm sorry. No, inside, there you go. There we go. That goes over there. Now you interact with the toolbox with your right bumper. So let's say you wanted to bring.
You're not going to make hardware. Right. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Primarily game. What are these? These are pretty cool, huh? These players. Various options in this program. Like, I heard the latency is really good. Like, it's real time, 6 milliseconds. You can bring up a whole panel for spawning new objects. That's how you bring in new objects through the panel.
It is the practical applications that are out there right now?
Not really. And it goes straight to the shape. So it goes right to the print surface, or you know, if you have your old printer set up, you just click this and it'll send it right off your printer. So that's that's just saved as an STL. That's like, and then you just
your printer is the whole modeling environment. And there are components the video precision through some of the digital jigs.
I don't know if you use a smartphone to do that yet.
Well, there it is. I found it. Oh, that's fun. Alright, I can stay here.
Just imagine what that's going to look like on the Crystal Code. Plus, you're going to get the 6.3 so you can leave the head in and look closer. Just one thing, I think the field of view is a little hard. Oh,
my steering wheel is wonky.
Yeah, you put the.
It's pretty cool.
You definitely put the tire and screw
My
along.
wheels are nearly interesting.
Well, that's fun. Like, literally.
What do you think, Karl?
I got to try it. That's a lot of fun. I need one of these wheels at home now.
Hell yeah.
Double dropping in
if you suspend this belief, your brain feels
basically.
so you actually
So I've had double vision in each eye.
so it's worth trying.
And
then they have the new motion controllers in the back. Still, it's very cool. You see the right way around there. They're finally wireless. Get to make it.
And you already tried the last one, which is mentioned.
The noise sounds like cartoons, you know.
Oh, this is such a great demo. So Matt, we were just talking, you just won SVVR with this.
Hey, they totally do it. Flintstone's driving game.
Oh my God.
Totally do it.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that.
But like, well, you could probably get away with calling it like a kitty cart. Right, yeah. But it's essentially a Flintstones car. Oh, Dino car. Dino car.
This is alright, I gotta see this.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Alright.
See the joy of people's face when they first get to start walking around and like, oh my God.
Well, once they realize that they can go like superhuman speeds, it's like, oh my gosh.
That one needs to be.
I think that was the best feel.
It's a lean forward and it feels like you're flying. Yeah.
I couldn't tell. Can you get air? If you don't go behind
Yeah, this is definitely a 2-legged jump.